Hello everyone from Bucharest. Welcome to the Recursive podcast again, where we dive deep into the minds of entrepreneurs, innovators, and tech leaders in Southeast Europe. Our guest today says that he's been an entrepreneur even before he understood the word entrepreneur. Bogdan Nicoara loves starting new projects and finding solutions to all sorts of problems. He's currently the co-founder of Bright Spaces, an end-to-end digital leasing platform for commercial real estate. Based in Romania, he is now on the path of becoming a global tech disruptor in real estate services. Welcome, Bogdan.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for coming, and I'm really excited because we've been planning this podcast for a while now, and finally we happen to be in the same city again.
Yeah.
Already when I met you, I was I felt very connected to your mindset because you're, I would call you like a Da Vinci type of person. You have a lot of interest. You started so many different projects. You've been part of different companies. And I was actually wondering, how is it for you now when you have to focus just on one project?
Definitely better. But I think I needed to do all the things that I did in order to understand why it is better to focus on one thing.
So the experience that you had so far is making you now a better startup entrepreneur? Would you say that?
I think so. I think experience generally helps. In my case specifically, I always wanted to start things. I got bored pretty fast. Probably because I didn't have a clear objective on why I'm doing that and how it should develop and even possibly end at some point. And right now I think me and Andrei, my partner, we started from the end goal with Bright Spaces, and it's much more clearer for us and the entire team why we are doing this, why we want to, as you said, disrupt or bring at least a new layer of technology for commercial real estate globally. And we have different scenarios on how to get there, but we are focused on what we are doing right now.
So if you have to describe the end goal, how does it look like? Do you have like a vision in your mind where you celebrate, reaching this final goal?
Yeah, I think right now, because of how the startup market is shifting towards, let's say, buyer market and not a seller market, if we consider the VC as the seller and the startups as the buyer. Because right now I think there are a lot of money on the market and not that many startups that can prove. So it's interesting to see how you as a startup right now can grow faster than before, because you have the resources, you can reach those resources faster. Definitely you need to do a good job with the company, but you can think right from the beginning and on things like exits or IPO or different kind of M&A strategies that will leave this company in a place. I always like to say that you need to build something which will last more than where you can take it to. So that's what I would like for Bright Spaces to be something that will continue to grow even when I will not be there.
So we started with the end goal. Now let's go back a bit in time. I want to start even before that. What I find very interesting is that you said that you were an entrepreneur already, I think, in your school time. What was the business? What was the venture? What did you do?
Yeah, it's a big word to say that I was an entrepreneur in high school. The truth is that I liked getting involved into projects, creative projects, right from, kindergarten, first, second grade. I never liked the part where you need to learn very strict things in school, but I love the creative projects. So whenever I had the chance, I got involved into projects at school, but also outside of school. For example, the first thing that I did to make my own money was together with my friends back then. I think we were 16, 15, 16, 17, something like that. I don't remember exactly. We were in love with the hip hop culture, and we were drawing graffiti, obviously illegal because that's how it is. And we thought about, okay, but how can we still do this and make some money out of it? So we drew graffiti for money, legally, without running from police. We had some clients like
Who was your first customer?
I think it was very, very small, like 4x4 meters game room. Back then we had Counter-Strike.
I remember these times.
Corner shops.
Yes.
And what we did was to draw the outside and the inside. The problem was that we didn't know that we needed to take everyone outside when we draw inside, and it was a mess. But
so it's still in a way kind of, like a real estate business even back then.
I never thought about it like this. Somehow, yeah.
Okay. So so you made some money, and then you got the taste of what is it actually to earn your own money, and then you continued your path. I know that before Bright Spaces, you had your own agency, and you had also your own software development company, which I would assume were more like service companies.
Sure.
How was it actually for you to jump from a service business to a product business? Because for a lot of companies, especially if they're, corporates, it is a huge leap, and it's a totally new mindset that you need to develop.
For us, it was something long overdue. So it was easy. We wanted to do this for, I think, 7 years while running the agency. We actually tried with some projects and we failed because we were defocused. We were trying 3 different things or 4 different things at the same time. And I think what happened with Bright Spaces was that after winning a competition, the first PropTech hackathon organized in Bucharest, we just said, okay, let's do it in another way. If everything failed somehow failed until now while trying to do multiple things at once, let's just focus on this for the next, 5, 7, 10 years. And it was a very, very fast decision. It was the same day when the same day I discussed with Andrei. He said he wants to start this with me, and that was it. We decided to sell the portfolio of the agency and the software development company, and to keep a very small part of the team that we believe will help us in creating the prototype for Bright Spaces. We started pitching for the pre-seed round, and that's it. That happened in April 2019, and in September we incorporated Bright Spaces. In October we closed the round, and that's how it started.
So fast.
Yeah, it was I think the round took us from I think May to October. So it was pretty fast.
How did you decide to go full speed in PropTech and in real estate? I mean, did you have some previous experience in the real estate? Because this is a very, specific industry, and it's still, I would say, kind of rigid and maybe a bit old-fashioned, and you do need to understand the mindset of real estate companies to do a business like yours, isn't it?
You do, but we had no idea what we were getting into at that time. Actually, a good friend and mentor, Ciprian Pașca from PropTech Romania, he was telling me for 2 years that we need to address the real estate industry with our tech, because even in the agency, we were using some different tech solutions that we created, more creative, more innovative, because as I told you, we were pretty good at starting things, not so much as continuing and finalizing the business side. It took me 2 years to understand that real estate is actually a market that is worth the trouble. But when we started, we had absolutely no experience. I think not zero, because we created some websites for some real estate developers, but that was it.
Okay.
So we didn't know how things were working. One of the reasons why we wanted in our pre-seed round to have people with very good real estate knowledge in our cap table. So we have Ilinca Păun.
She's been
you
already
had her,
our guest. It was an amazing conversation.
Yeah,
true.
She's a wonderful person. We have Adrian Erimescu from founder and ex-CEO at imobiliare.ro, the biggest marketplace for residential real estate. Cristian Negruțiu from Sparking also had some involvement in the logistics and industrial space. So we actually tried to get as much help as we could, because we only had the tech and, let's say, business optimization know-how, but not the real estate one.
Which is also, I find very interesting, because, when you build a product, at least is what tech people say, you have to be really, ready to listen to feedback from your environment, in your case also from your experts, from the market. Coachability is, a thing that the investors pretty much value, especially in young founders. For you, it was the first maybe product business that you were involved in, like full-time?
Full-time, yeah.
Yeah, full-time, yes.
We tried some other projects, but never full-time.
Yes. Was it difficult to listen to this feedback that you're getting from your advisors and investors in the beginning?
Yes. Coming from a service business means that generally you don't act as a startup at all. So you don't have investors, you don't have advisors, coaches, mentors. You're by yourself in a very competitive landscape, especially in software development and digital marketing. And you're doing everything that you can in order to succeed by your own and with your team. But it's like you're creating your own bubble, and you don't have enough knowledge to grow. That's why if you look at the entire space, you will see that only a few companies actually manage to grow. The other ones are either bought, so integrated into the big companies, or they actually disappear by time, because it's very difficult. It's competitive. The competition is fierce. It's not at all collaborative. So it was hard for me to move from that mindset to a mindset where you have a board, you need advisors, you need to listen to your clients differently, because in the agency you had very clear briefs, or not so clear, but it was whatever the client wanted, you needed to create. And in the product business, you need to create something that will be good for the market today, but also in 5 years. And you need to be very, you need to filter very well the information, because if you need to mix your knowledge and instinct with the potential clients, because if you only listen to the potential client, they might ask for things that make sense right now or yesterday, but not tomorrow. So you need to kind of filter the information in order to create the right product. Mm-hmm. So it was hard. I think it's now easier because we are doing this a lot. We have a lot of advisors, mentors, and we actually participating in an acceleration program at Pi Labs helped us even more, because we had 2 weeks of the mentor weeks. So we had days with 12 or 13 meetings with mentors a day. So
Wow.
we needed to really listen and to get feedback fast and to iterate fast, because if you get a very bad feedback from 5 mentors today, you need to change something until tomorrow, because if you don't, tomorrow you'll get the same feedback.
Do you have some kind of practical tip on how do you integrate so many voices in your head? I mean, if you listen to 5 mentors a day and they probably have like different opinions on which direction you should go, in the end of the day, you will be still the captain of your ship and you will be responsible for all the decisions that you're making. So what do you do after a day like this? How do you go home and say, okay, maybe I'm just going to now switch everything 280 degrees?
I'm not sure if we nailed the process, but what me and Andre did was to, after each day, we had a table with all of the mentors, and we had, I think, 7 types of feedback or criteria, and we actually allocated grades for each of them, and that at the end, when we had, I think, 80 meetings, it was pretty relevant. So when a lot of them told us the 3D part looks bad, you need to make it look better, it was clear that we needed to make it look better. It was not, it was something pretty objective. So
yes, yeah. It is hard, especially in the beginning, when you, as a founder yourself, know that some things are still not working perfectly, especially for tech people. I know that you kind of, tend to want to have everything perfect before you show it to the world. And then you gather all this feedback, and this is not good enough, and this is not good enough. And you actually know that. So it's hard, on the ego.
I actually remember a specific day in the acceleration program. After we finished the mentor weeks, we sent the demo. We had a demo, prototype demo, to other people, and we got. Part of the feedback was, yeah, great, nice, and we had some very tough ones. And reading that, so it was in writing, and reading that, it was very, very hard. I was like, no, they're not right. But they were. They were right. And it's quite tough to accept that you need to work, because the problem was not that we got tough feedback, is that we were working 16 hours a day back then. It's like a lot. So me and Andre were in London for 3 weeks. Then 2 weeks we were quarantined here in Romania, and still working this mad schedule each day. And our colleagues were working from home on the prototype. So we were working on the business, and they were working on the prototype. And it was so hard to get this feedback, knowing that you need to work even harder in order to get to where you wanted to get.
I can totally relate to that. It's happening, also with us quite often, especially when you're a public project like media. You get feedback all the time, even if you don't want it. And it's a business which is not so specific. So anyone can, everyone believes that they can do media because it looks that easy. Okay, so let's go back to real estate. So coming from tech and from marketing and jumping into real estate, can you describe your first encounter with real estate customers? I think your first customer was Skanska, right?
Yeah.
So did you experience a huge, like a culture shock?
Definitely, but not with them.
Not with them.
Yeah.
This is why probably they became your first customer. Yeah. Okay.
The relationship we had and still have with Skanska is pretty special, because it started in a different way. We participated in their internal PropTech hackathon in November 2019. And what that meant was that our team, we chose a challenge. And the challenge was digitizing the leasing process. And we had 48 hours non-stop working with them, with their team, marketing, leasing, project management. So we had access in those 48 hours to the entire Skanska team in Romania, but also a lot of content and information in order to create the prototype of the solution. That's what a hackathon means, to actually have something that works in 48 hours. And it's very hard to replicate this with other clients because working at 10 p.m. in the evening with someone creates a pretty strong connection. And they actually saw how we worked and that we were so dedicated to understanding the leasing process. We had no idea how that worked in office. We were asking the most stupid questions like, okay, but how does a tenant find you? And so on. And because of that start, we now have a very, very good relationship. And they're the first we go to test new features and to understand the changes in this very, very uncertain market right now.
So they were also your early adopters, to put it this way.
Yeah, innovators.
Yeah. Innovators,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How important was at this point, to have a customer like that who already, to co-create with you, to work on the solution with you, to be your early adopter?
I would say this is one of the most valuable things that you can get. And if you can get that not just from one client, but from many, and we had that also with One United, with Vox, with Impact Hub, they all helped us in the beginning. Even our first client in the UK, we created the product, or parts of the product based on the specific market knowledge that they could provide us with. So it's pretty important. You generally don't have that as a startup. You need to create it, and there are a lot of books teaching you on how to do that, like disciplined entrepreneurship, lean startup, and so on. But I think you need also to be lucky. And by luck, I don't mean just waiting for things to happen, but try a lot of things and opportunities, like go to competitions, hackathons, engage with potential customers where they already are, like during events, offering, this knowledge exchange in a very creative way, so that they don't perceive you as a seller at that moment, because that's when things break. In the communication. If you're very early, you don't have the right product, but you're trying to sell it, you will get a lot of no's. So instead of trying to selling it in the beginning, I think you would be way better trying to understand why it doesn't fit, or why some parts of it could fit with that client. And if you do that many times in a very short period of time, you will have a working minimum viable product. Maybe 1-2 clients that will buy that in order to test it, learn more from them, then refine it, and then have the first version of the product, then get some more clients, and so on. It's definitely not an easy job. It's something that you need to do daily, but it's very important to find the right people that are able and want to share. And these kind of people you can look at, you can find them because they're very curious. They're very, even if they're not tech oriented, they're oriented towards the new way of doing stuff. And we found that in different persons in the teams of our clients.
It's actually more about, the people who are working in, let's say, corporations or enterprise organizations who are, into the disruptive business models and innovation, who would actually, support you and make sure that the project is somehow being pushed through the organization. I think it's all about, the specific person. I think they call them champions, right?
Yeah, we call that
champions.
The champion inside. Yeah.
Do you see more and more champions in the real estate market now? Yeah.
Sure. Some of them come from their own personality. Like for them, it's like, oh my God, it's the first time when we can actually change something in a very traditional industry, and this is the time to try new stuff, new solutions, and to implement them. And others have a more pride approach, where they want to be seen inside the organization as the ones that implemented certain products. For you as a startup, it's obviously better to have the first type of person, because they're more authentic and transparent. But the second one is good also, because you need to we say get the puppy inside the house. So just try to get into a big corporation with a small feature, prove that it's working, then have another one, and in 1 year, 2 years, you will have the puppy grow to a big dog, but it will still be inside the house, and everyone will love it.
Yes. But you still continue having, this special relationship to your first early adopters. Let's put them like that.
We do have this relationship, which is sort of institutionalized. Like, we have very clear recurrent meetings, product meetings, just one-to-ones, depending on the roles, but we listen a lot to them. So we don't want to just be perceived as a customer-centric organization. We want to live like this. We want to grow as with the customer, with the client in mind.
Okay, so you have it also in a very structured way, so regular meetings and
We want to create something that we're still thinking about how to do it, because the real estate is very competitive. We want to create a customer or client advisory council, where we want to meet with more than one at the same time in a round table and discuss potential new features and challenges in their processes. But we need to think about how to do this, because it's, as I said, a very competitive landscape for them, and we need to have them at the same table.
No, it's definitely a topic that is worth tapping into. I'm actually now thinking that maybe we should also do something with the Recursive, because I do know companies which have successfully implemented an advisory board, and it is in a way also community building around you, a very special community building type of thing. So thanks for bringing it up. It's definitely worth exploring, but I see that you're already on the right path.
If we manage to do it, I will tell you.
Yeah.
Right now it's just an idea.
And did also, how did it come to the second investment, to the seed investment? Did you get some tips from your advisors, and could you also use the advisory board for also for raising money, or is it only about making the product better?
I think you should have advisors for different things, and you should listen to the right people for the right advices. It's quite bad to listen to someone who doesn't know much about investments and to try to use that advice in an investment process, or listen to an investor, a purely financial investor, when it comes to the product. You need to be very clear about that. But for us, we got a lot of help in the funding process. And what I believe we did okay was to have a strategy on the round. Actually, for both rounds, we had this. We knew, let's say at a macro level, how we wanted the round to look like. Like, of course, how much money we want to raise and for what, the potential valuation and the walkaway point if we don't get that. What kind of knowledge, because you want smart money. So what's the mix of knowledge that you want to have? If you want angels or just VCs, and we wanted angels a lot because we had a very good experience from the pre-seed round with angels, and we really wanted, we put a lot of effort into the second round to have an interesting 11 people as angel investors in a seed round.
Yes.
So.
And now you have a mix of angel money and VC money, right?
We have individual angels, we have angel groups, we have Romanian VC, France, and UK VC in our cap table.
Okay. So tell me about the relationships that you're actually building with these, different groups of people, because I can only imagine that, you talk differently to a VC than if you have to compare it to an angel.
Yeah.
What did you learn so far about it?
That it's hard and that I need more time for this part. People can help you a lot if you ask them. Angels and VCs can help you way more than you imagine if you just put in the time and the right questions. Unfortunately, because we're so fast-paced, we sometimes don't have that time, and I realize only after that. Maybe if I would ask, I would have asked someone.
You could have saved 5 hours of your
or maybe even days or
even
weeks. But we have a very good relationship with all of them. I'm not saying that so nothing is absolutely perfect. So you have different opinions and discussions, but I think this is the way it should be. The idea is that in the end, you should have the same objective. And investors, if they truly believe in a startup and in the founders, they should support the founders and their vision. And that's how we have this relationship set up right now, which is very good. They're helping us with sales, with strategy, with getting talent, with now we are working on establishing a new way of organizing the company, more flat, self-management, decentralized, autonomous. And we are discussing with all of them to see how we can make this happen, because it's pretty difficult in a market where everyone is used to the pyramid shape of the decision-making process.
Yes. I can also guess that you're hiring people who already have experience in real estate, who have been part of more probably hierarchical organizations.
We are now starting to get people from the real estate, but the initial team was not from real estate.
No, jumping, bravely into the unknown. I really respect that. Cool. So when we speak about building a more autonomous type of organization, decentralized, where you are supposed to promote ownership within the company and manage actually like little leaders in your organization, what would be your take on that? How do you do that? I personally find it sometimes very difficult. I'm going to share, maybe a bit of from our kitchen, that the people that we hired, especially now in the beginning, when we started the Recursive, they were all showing, qualities of leaders, and they wanted to own their own, project and work with different ideas, and they would come again and again with, we can do that, and we can do that, and we can do that. And for me personally, it was sometimes very hard, to keep it all together, not to kill the vibe, not to make them too much thinking as employees. How do you balance that?
We are trying to implement a framework.
Okay.
And we are looking at, we are all studying a book right now. It may sound silly, but that's how we are doing it. It's called Reinventing Organization by Frederic Laloux. And he studied a lot of self-managed organizations, and he just got the ideas and created like a framework, not a fixed one, but a very good initial framework to start with in creating your own more decentralized autonomous organization. And it is difficult because you cannot do everything from the beginning. people might be afraid that things will break if you just make everything fully transparent, fully autonomous right from the beginning. You need to have different steps for this.
Okay.
We are asking other companies that did that. I had a discussion with Dan Ștefan from Autonom. They're a very well-known company in Romania implementing this kind of processes. Now we have a colleague in Austria, a PyLabs alumni colleague. They're also working with the holacracy model. Very nice, and they're doing a great job. So I would say that you need to test a lot. You need to learn. And you need to see what works for your organization. For us, we are just starting to do this. We do have some basic principles that help us because we tried right from the beginning to give people their voice, so they can say whatever they want. They can engage into new ideas. They just need to get certain approvals, like from their peers, and they can do it. And this is so nice to see that some ideas happen without the founders being involved in all of those, and they create some very cool projects in different, like for PR and marketing, for in the product area, even in the sales. And it's nice to see that everyone is feeling responsible for the getting the company to the next level.
How do you keep them focused on the same vision, on the same goal? Because in a way you're sharing, one big common project. Everyone can step in with an idea of how to improve that. But sometimes there are also these so-called pet projects that, pop up, which take away your focus. How do you deal with them?
I'm not sure we are dealing with them directly. I believe what we are doing is just splitting the vision into two very important parts. The long-term vision, which is not clear. It's just like we want to go global. We want to help the real estate as much as we can, but we need to be a global player for that. But then we go back to the next step. And the next step is generally 1.5 years from now. And that's very clear. And in our case, it's a financial objective to reach a certain revenue. And everything that connects to that is something that we need to do. If it doesn't connect at all with that, but we didn't have this, I don't know any ideas that came from the team which were totally parallel with our objectives. So I see. Yeah. I think everyone is pretty clear on why they want to do something, and that's connected to the next step.
So when we speak about, the next step, which you said is very clear, so you're going to reach a financial goal in terms of revenue, but how are you going to do that? What do you need for that?
For us, it's a lot connected to direct sales.
Okay. Are you stepping into new markets?
Yeah.
Which are they? Okay.
So we are now in Romania and in the UK, and the focus for the next year is to grow as much as we can in the UK, but also experiment with other areas.
Okay.
In Europe and outside Europe, but experiment. The idea is that if we see a market with a very interesting potential, and that might not be the biggest market, that might be the market that we can address the fastest, or where they have more innovators or early adopters. So we are very open to getting into new markets, but we are now just experimenting with different countries and cities.
How do you, because direct sales is, the most important factor for that, do you hire sales locally? how do you manage the business development on the new markets? What would be your best tip here?
We just started doing that, and we have also colleagues in different markets, but also companies, lead openers.
Okay.
I think you should test a lot. We are in that phase, so I don't have an answer. Maybe in 1 year I could have a better answer. Right now we're testing with a lot of strategies. Obviously, we researched and we chose those strategies that shown a lot of success for other companies. But we don't know what will work better for us.
Okay. And lead openers, do you hire them already from the beginning, or do you test them in a way, or how?
No, there are companies that are doing that.
Okay.
Yeah, they're
cool.
Creating meetings for you.
Yes.
They're just scouting the market based on your based on your ideal persona. Work on the sales materials specifically for that market, and they're creating new meetings. Some of them, it depends on their way of doing business. Some of them actually help you close. Some of them just they stop at when they set up the meetings. It depends.
Of course. What I was also wondering is, now that we're all working from home and we're remotely, how do you do business in commercial real estate? How is the pandemic actually affecting the dynamics of this industry? Isn't it super difficult? Who is thinking about commercial estate at this point, other than our offices are empty and we need to, we need to find money to pay the rent, or maybe even give it up.
You know that media sometimes looks at a certain challenge and they only emphasize the let's say
the extremes.
Of course, the best part and the worst part, even if that means only 5% of what is really happening. The truth is that commercial real estate itself is the biggest asset class in the world. And office, until recently, was the golden child of real estate. So everyone who was someone in real estate needed to invest in office.
Okay.
More than residential, way more than industrial, or even hospitality. So to imagine that the offices will be dead, as we saw a lot of titles, is just pure madness. They will definitely not be dead, while of course changing a lot in the next years. Nobody knows exactly where this will go, but the buildings will still be there and they will have a destination. What that will mean for companies, we don't know exactly right now. We do know that leases are lease terms are shorter, from an average of 7 to 10 years. We are now to 3-5 years, even with break options. We see the flexible office environment approach. We see the hybrid work. We see the hub and spoke model, where you have a central hub, office hub, and a lot of smaller offices where you have the teams in different cities or parts of this bigger city. The idea is that for us, for Bright Spaces, we need to be the product that helps commercial real estate right now in this uncertainty, but also when things will be more established in the next 3 to 5 years. That's the term that everyone is expecting for things to be again quite clear for the industry.
Okay.
So we have because the industry is uncertain and flexible, we also need to have a very flexible approach when it comes to product development. So our solution is like a base platform with a lot of features that you can mix and match for different landlord requirements. We don't want to have an off-the-shelf product that you just get it off the shelf and you're trying to push with a normal sales process. Mm-hmm. We are more in the educational and consultative sales process where we try to understand very clear where the pain point is for a certain landlord, and then just see if we have the features to help him. If we don't, we are getting the ideas into a backlog of ideas. And when we reach a critical number of answers for a certain idea, positive answers, we then start building that feature.
Okay. You mentioned that you're focusing on the whole field of commercial real estate. And from what I hear, this is not just offices. I mean, you have also different types of industries. Is offices like also you said it like the golden child, is it the most lucrative niche that you can position yourself into, or are there other potentials as well?
We started with office, and we are now still just implementing projects in the office industry, but we are looking at industrial and retail, even residential for the future. Mm-hmm. For each of these verticals, the need is somehow different. Even if the software might seem to be the same, they can use it for different stuff. Just some ideas. You can use Bright Spaces to market your property during the pre-leasing and leasing process, even for divestment purposes or for investment purposes. Okay. Because for each of these processes, you need to present, to better showcase your property, your portfolio, with all the data in the same place, with very easy to access information. And that until now, that was in PDFs and maybe basic websites and printed brochures.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so there is still a lot to digitize.
Yeah, a lot,
okay, from the usual approaches. I was wondering, because the end goal is to become a global disruptor in this industry. I was wondering, is being based in Romania and starting the business from Romania an advantage or rather a disadvantage for you?
I believe it's both.
Okay.
I believe it's let's start with the disadvantage to end in
a more positive way.
Yeah. So I think it's a disadvantage because it's more difficult to sell from Romania into the UK. I'm not talking about the States or Asia, but it's also an advantage because we are used to working in uncertainty. We are used to learning foreign languages very fast. We are used to moving around in order to find the right,
sweet spot
in the product, in the market. So I think this makes us more agile and more hungry, if I can say this, than Western startups. If you only look at the requirements for investment, it's the same. Southeast European startup may ask for 1 million, but reach the same KPIs as US startup asking for 10 million.
Okay.
So it's obviously different salaries and different costs, but also the mentality is somehow different.
Okay. Well, we see now this kind of upsurge of the global entrepreneurship, which means that regardless of where you are, you can actually run a global company, and you can also build a global organization of people who are working from anywhere or kind of, remotely. Still, if you are expected as a founder to move, let's say, to London, would you do that at this point? I know that you also have a family and a baby. How do you combine these things? Yeah.
If you ask me, I would say I'm doing well. If you ask my wife, probably she would want me more focused on the personal part. But I think it's quite balanced right now.
Okay.
To answer your question, I think it's very important to have your family close to you. So for me, this is if you're how to say, you need some very stable pillars in order to have one which is extremely uncertain, as we do with the business. So to balance this, for me, the family is very important, and I want to have them close. So if at some point I would need to move in order to grow the business, I would only do so if I would have the family with me. If not, we would try to find another solution. But I think there are a lot of examples. We have Office R&D, for example. We have Miro. He built a global company from Bulgaria.
Yes.
And so I think it's the perfect moment to think globally and do that from absolutely everywhere on the globe.
Yeah.
It's this work from home and digital communication approach actually helps. In everyone is used to Zoom and Teams and Google.
True. Yes, no, the pandemic's kind of, I think it's deleted some of the boundaries that we used to have in our minds, that in order for us to do business, we need to go to conferences and have a in-person contact with partners, customers, investors. Now, even employees, potential employees. Now this is all changing, and we learn to do business even without it. I'm not going to say if it's a good thing or a bad thing. It has,
It's too early.
It's too early to say. But it definitely opened new horizons for Southeast European founders. And we see also an increased interest by foreign investors now. We see, as you mentioned, valuations, growing, coming at a totally different level. Are we actually ready for this kind of fast growth, which we would be expected by, let's say, investors? How do you feel, like, if you have to say it about maybe the Romanian ecosystem?
I think it's a bet, but I think it's a good bet. So why not, as an investor, why not look at a country where people for many years were used to being held down by everything from the, I don't know, mentality, government. And now that layer is broken, and you can jump to whatever level you wish. I mean, I listened to Ilinka, and she said the thinking finite or infinite. And I love the second part. Like, why not think what's the highest goal that you can achieve during this life, and try to do it. Not be upset if you don't, but just be pleased, joyful by the process of trying to become the best version of yourself and the company.
Have you ever caught yourself in a situation where you realize that you're not thinking big enough?
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? I mean, it takes guts, right? It takes
many times.
Yeah.
Many times generally during the pitching process, when I went to Western VCs, and I had the idea that our product and our vision is so great, and they were like, "You're not thinking big enough. We won't invest in you." And I was like, "Whoa! If this is not big enough, then what is?" And it just opens new possibilities.
Okay.
We actually had a very nice. We created a very nice exercise with the team some months ago. We were having lunch at the office, and we asked everyone, what would be like the biggest thing that Bright Spaces could become? take out all the limitations, financial or even technical limits, and what can bright spaces eventually become. And one of the biggest ideas was that if people end up colonizing other planets like Mars, like Elon Musk, and going to Mars, that will be the biggest real estate market, right? So they will need tools like bright spaces. Why not
be the first mover on Mars?
Yeah.
I love this.
Even if it's childish somehow and probably like a dream, but if you think that, you'll probably get closer than if you just put your limits here. And you will definitely have, if you have lower limits, probably the results will be lower.
Well, it is, as they say, you're as big as your dreams are, right? So in this sense, I want to ask you now the final questions, because we're running out of time and you also have to leave. And the final question is a bit philosophical, and it goes exactly in this direction. What do you want to be remembered for?
I know this question because I listened to all of your episodes, and I was afraid of it. I'm still afraid of it, because from a mental perspective, I want to say that I want to lower my ego and not be remembered, because being remembered means that you inflate your ego. But I'm still human and I still have ego, and probably it's a mix between being remembered as a person who always tried to create more things that can last way longer than my life, while enjoying and being a nice person. And this is very hard. Very, very hard.
It is.
Balancing these two is quite hard.
Thank you, Bogdan, for this conversation.
Thank you
for being here with us. I wish you best of luck for this goal, because I think, balanced life is a happy life.
We're trying, yeah.
Yeah.
In the next episode of the Recursive podcast, we welcome the co-founder of the fintech startup AHOC, Hristo Borisov.
But if your idea fundamentally wasn't that good, wasn't that strong, wasn't that validated, your strategy was not very clear, doesn't matter how you're going to execute it. It has a ceiling and a limit. And I think the other reason why investors are investing so much money in the market in which we are is because they are really seeing that this has a huge market potential. The total addressable market is massive, because a lot of companies, and as we were joking, the previous guest on your podcast just wanted to become a customer. I said, yeah, sure, go ahead. Because everybody has the problem, everybody understands the problem. And I think that's the ingenuity about innovation, that you can get it to be so simple, so simple that everybody can understand, and everybody like, why wasn't this built before, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's, as soon as you get your value proposition, your pitch to that level, then everything is going to align. Of course, if you can do the execution, at least on a basic level, but that there is this saying that extremely good team with a poor market is going to be good effort. Extremely bad team with an amazing market is success, and then an amazing team with an amazing market is going to be a miracle. So you can still succeed with if you have a mediocre team in an amazing market, is going to be a massive success.
And if you are just as passionate about innovation as we are, hit subscribe for the Recursive podcast on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. We're everywhere.